Hello, welcome to my channel Lifestyle with Sharon. Great to see you again and I hope you enjoy the video. Today I'm going to be doing chicken meatballs with a lovely tomato sauce. Easy to make and delicious. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. It helps the channel grow. Leave a comment, just say hello. I'd love to hear from you and I'll answer you back. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, and that just gives you a reminder when the videos are coming out. Enjoy! We're going to make our own breadcrumbs in the food processor because I just find that's the easiest way. I love to make a big pile and then put it in the freezer. But if you didn't have that and you wanted to just make a few breadcrumbs, take a piece of bread out so it goes a little bit stale and you could just rub your fingers on that and then the breadcrumbs will come off that way. Or you could buy them in the shop. And the beauty of doing the breadcrumbs is you can freeze them and just take them out as and when you need them. Okay, simply put the lid on and give it a whiz for a minute. And I'll just put them in a little bowl so they're ready for when we need them. Right, the ingredients that we need for the sauce is we need some olive oil, celery. That's optional, you don't have to have that, but it's usually quite nice if you have some celery. Onion, a couple of cloves of garlic, some fresh tomatoes. Again, you don't have to have fresh tomatoes, but I think it adds to it. A few carrots, tomato puree, some oregano, some turmeric, some salt, tin of tomatoes, and some fresh basil. Now, I love using fresh basil with a homemade tomato sauce, but if you haven't got fresh, you can use the dry one. Right, so when we cut an onion up, you've got a root end and you've got the other end. So you want to cut across, hands either side, and cut down. Then you want to cut this end off, not the root end. And then you want to cut across like that. So hold either side. You've not cut right at the root end. Make sure you're bending your fingers and you just slice down, and this will give you nice finely chopped onions. And when you discard that rooted end, which gives you the tears in your eyes, so keep that right to the very end. So with the garlic, so it makes it easy to peel, you just put a knife on it and you just put the back of your hand down a couple of times like that to squash it. Turn your garlic over, do the same again. And then this becomes really easy to peel, look. And you just cut your ends off. Of course you can use a garlic crusher if you want, or you could just roughly chop because it's all going to be liquidized at the end, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be tiny. So we're just going to cut some celery. So we'll cut the end off. And you just take the bits off inside, the least bits that you don't want, and just slice. I'll do 3 to 4 cells of celery. Now we're going to cut some tomatoes. And I've got this fabulous knife from Greenway Supplies. They're based in County Kerry, but they will deliver. They've got a whole load of lovely kitchen products for commercial use and for the home. And this just slices through tomatoes because sometimes the skin can be quite tough to get a knife. And look how simple. That just cut through that with ease. No problem whatsoever. It's such a lovely knife, especially for tomatoes. It's called a tomato knife. So I would highly recommend getting yourself one of these. So nice to use. I'm hardly putting any effort in that, and it's just slicing through really easy. So we just want to roughly chop these. And I'm just going to put a description in the link below for the company that provided this knife. And just to let you know, I will get a small commission on anyone that clicks on the link and buys any products from Greenway Supplies. But I would personally highly recommend them. Then we're going to cut just one end off of the carrot. I don't bother peeling them and just give them a grate. We want roughly about 100 grams of carrots. Right, so we'll just chop some basil up, the leaves. So kind of just scrunch it together and then make sure your fingers are bent as usual. And then you just want to slice it. So you want a good couple of handfuls. Here's one handful. So you want a couple of those. So we're just going to put some olive oil into a pot. We'll add our onions, our garlic, and our celery and carrots. Give it a mix and we'll just put a lid on it and let it saute for about 5 minutes. So we'll just add a generous pinch of salt. We'll add our fresh tomatoes. We've got about 4 fresh tomatoes. Our tin of chopped tomatoes. Give it a stir. So you want 100 grams of water. So what you do is in the tin of chopped tomatoes there's a little bit of juice left still in there. So if you put some of the water in that and just give it a shake around and then empty that. See, it's nice tomatoey juice. And then you want about 1/4 of a tube of tomato puree. You want 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric, teaspoon of oregano, and you want your fresh basil. And we'll just give this a stir. And then you want to put a lid on this and let it cook for about 45 minutes. And just occasionally give it a stir. So while that's cooking, I'll show you how to make the chicken meatballs. Right, and for the chicken meatballs itself, we obviously need a bit of chicken, nice breast of chicken, a couple of cloves of garlic, some spring onions, and 1 egg, some parsley, you can use fresh or you can have some dried, some breadcrumbs, some salt, paprika, and some pepper, which I've not got here, but you can just imagine the pepper. For the top, when we're served it all up, we want some Parmesan cheese, or I have to look at it to tell you what it is because I can't remember. Parmigiano or something, I'm not pronouncing it right. Parmigiano Reggiani. I've got no idea what that says. Maybe somebody can say it, but not me. Some kind of nice strong cheese that you can put on the top for serving. Parmesan cheese is obviously easier to say. What you could do is go to the butcher's and ask him to mince the chicken for you, or you can do it yourself by just slicing it into long strips. Be careful to keep your fingers bent so you're not going to cut yourself. And then what you want to do is just then do this. And again, keeping your fingers bent. Can't cut yourself if they're bent, but if they're like that, then you could. And you just slice the chicken into small pieces like this. And then again, bunch them all up together and try and do it again a few times so they get a bit smaller. Or if you've got a bigger knife, you can do the chopping action. So you just hold it in place like that and just chop. Because the smaller the pieces are, the better. That's why if you get your local butcher to mince you some chicken, it does become easier. And then what you want to do is, if it's a nice big thick one like this, you want to score it a couple of times. So bend your fingers and then just slice your spring onion. And do very small movements. Get it as small as you can. It just makes it a bit easier to work with. So into your chicken, we just want to add a little bit of salt. Pinch of black pepper. You can put some chili flakes in here, maybe about 1/4 teaspoon or even a bit less. It depends on how spicy you like things. Add an egg. We add our spring onions. I've got about 1/4 of a spring onion. This is per 1 chicken breast. So it depends on how much you want to do. I've got just 1 clove of garlic chopped up nice and small. And I've got 20 grams of breadcrumbs here. 1/4 teaspoon of paprika and 1 tablespoon of parsley. I'm just going to mix this with a fork initially. The best way is just to get your hands in here and give this a really good mix. And I've got that cheese that I was trying to say earlier but didn't do a good job of it, or Parmesan cheese. And you just want to grate a little bit into the meatballs. It just gives it that lovely flavour. I didn't weigh this out, you just guess it. And then just get your hands in there and just get stuck in. Now I did 20 grams of breadcrumbs. I think I actually do need a bit more. This is about another 10 grams. You want the breadcrumbs to bind it together. So I might even need a few more breadcrumbs. You're probably talking about 40 grams of breadcrumbs per chicken breast. It's all coming together a bit more solid now. It's coming clean from the edge of the bowl. That's the kind of consistency that you want it. And then what you want to do is just get a very small amount and you want to make a ball shape. You don't want them too big. And we'll just place them to one side. No, and then we'll cook those in a frying pan in a few minutes. You want fairly small balls, as I said. So out of that 1 breast of chicken, I actually got 8 pieces. Right, so we're just going to take this lid off now. It's been cooking for, actually it might be about an hour now. Cooking it nice and long time. Look how lovely that colour has changed. And this will all be liquidized in a minute. So it'll look very different. Now, one secret ingredient that some people do put in their tomato sauce is a teaspoon of sugar. So I'm going to liquidize this with one of those hand blenders. So I'm going to put it into a tall jug that doesn't splash too much. So I'm just going to push that down into the jug and liquidize it. See, look at this perfect sauce. Doesn't that look gorgeous? Lovely colour, tastes beautiful and looks lovely. So that's to go with our meatballs. So into a frying pan, we just put some olive oil and we want to place our chicken meatballs into the frying pan. As I said, if you want these a little bit more solid, you can add a few more breadcrumbs to it. Just keep adding small amounts until it's the amount that you want. So while they're cooking, we're going to put some spaghetti into a pot of hot water. If you take a few at a time, you can just break them in half. Some people like their spaghetti really long, but I always do it that way. And you want 80 to 100 grams per person. So you want to just keep turning these, and then once these are cooked, we're going to add them in to our tomato sauce. Okay, so we've just kept turning these. Now some of them have changed their shape. They're not a particular, I mean, they're not a perfect round ball, but that's okay. They don't have to be. When you're cooking at home, they do not have to be perfect. So once you know these have cooked okay and they've got a nice colour to them, then you just add them into your tomato sauce. So don't they look nice? So we'll just gently stir these into the sauce. Now I only did the one chicken breast. With the amount of sauce that I made, you could probably do 2 chicken breasts. But 1 chicken breast is enough for 2 people. So I'm just going to put the cooked spaghetti into a sieve. And then I'm just going to get some hot water from the kettle and just give that a rinse. And I'm going to plate this up and show you what it will look like. So I'm just going to dish up some spaghetti onto the plate. And then I'm going to add some tomato sauce and meatballs. So I made 8 meatballs. So I'll do 4 meatballs per portion. So it's amazing, 1 chicken, how far that goes. And then I'm just going to get some either Parmesan cheese or that cheese that I got. And you want to just sprinkle a little bit of that, or a lot, whichever you want. No right or wrong when you're cooking at home. And fresh parsley would be quite good, but I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of dried parsley. Look how delicious that looks.